So if you guys haven't had a chance to meet them or attend their workshops, these are some of the smartest, most committed, most creative individuals that I've had the pleasure to work with. So I encourage you to do so. And now another important note is that the application for our 2018 fellowship is now open. You can find it on our website. I encourage you to check out the program, apply if you're interested, and please share it with other people that you think might be interested in that opportunity to come and spend some time with us here, have an exchange across disciplines in the food system, and help us accelerate change in the food system. So during the summer, the fellows worked together on a design studio proposal to bring agroecology to Governor's Island in New York. In doing so, they coined a new term, agroequity. I'm going to let them tell you guys more about the concept and share their thoughts with you as to how agroequity can be a framework for change. I was in their workshop yesterday. I believe that they have really developed a compelling map or framework for how we can apply the principles of agroecology to the complex, challenging problem of building more equity in the food system and in the world. So all of the things that we've been talking about over the last 24 hours. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce 4 of our 2017 fellows, Shakirah Simley, Yana Gilbuena, Margiana Peterson-Rockney, and Hannah Koski. Come on up, you guys.
Hello? Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here and for making the time to be present and listen and engage with us. We're really grateful. As Sarah introduced us, we are 4 of the inaugural fellows from this past summer. My name is Hannah Koski.
I'm Shakirah Simley.
Margiana Peterson-Rockney.
And Yana Gilbuena.
And today we are here to both present and apply our concept in this framework of agroequity. It's rooted in agroecology and these key principles of resilience and regeneration, but we think that we need to push agroecology further. We think that we need to push it so that it includes people, as well as the systems and the institutions of which we are all a part and in which we all participate. Agroequity recognizes that if we are going to build a more inclusive, equitable food system, it requires that we honor history, that we shift power, and that we prioritize intersectionality. And doing so requires that we hold ourselves accountable, and also that we hold others accountable, and that we do so with empathy and kindness.
We were all just in this space last night talking about agroecology and structural change, like land reform. We need to talk about structural change, and we need to address and be accountable for our personal responsibilities and interactions in these systems, or we will reproduce the systems of oppression we seek to dismantle. We can't ignore our history, we can't disconnect our professional and personal power, and we need to undo the silos among people, disciplines, and structural institutions. We would like to empathetically and compassionately call everyone here into an inclusive, beyond the food system food movement. We are all doing important work and care about these issues, or we wouldn't be here. We need to see that real change starts with ourselves addressing our privilege, our whiteness, our maleness, etc., which is a lifelong process that does not exist in a vacuum of this political and cultural moment.
Thank you, Margiana, for providing context. And to provide you guys with further context, we're here to share the video for people who were not here last night and also for the people joining us in the live stream. We definitely don't want to re-traumatize or deepen the disrespect, but we need to understand that these concepts are applicable both in our interpersonal lives and in the institutional level. And also understand that these concepts like agroequity are not obscure. These are our lives. As Shakirah once said, if the personal is political, there's nothing more personal nor political than food.
Please cue the video.
Hi, this question is for Mark Bittman. How do you hold yourself accountable to communities of color and vulnerable communities? You talk a lot about racism, sexism, isms, and I think that as a person of color, I'm not most afraid of the Republican. I'm most afraid of the liberal who says that they are for people of color, changing the ills of our past, even though in regard to your history, you might not have directly had a connection to maybe your wealth, for example. However, you do benefit from it. I would say, like, how do you hold yourself accountable to the things that you say that you aspire to change, especially in regard to people of color, and in regard to people of color being at the table to have a voice in regard to the future as our population changes. And I would also say this, that I've tried to introduce myself twice to you in regard to a curriculum that I've created based on an article that you wrote. And I would love if you'd like to invite me over to your house to share that with you for a meal. Thanks.
Okay, well, fair enough. I'm not sure what the question was. I don't know what hold yourself accountable means.
I want us all to take a moment and to let that rest on us. I want us to sit in that discomfort. I also want to say that this is not okay. This is not okay, and this is not okay. I want to acknowledge Jill and the Stone Barn staff for taking the time today to apologize. I think that's important. However, this conversation goes beyond interpersonal conversation between two people during a panel. This situation, some might call it a microaggression, macroaggression, unfortunately is not unique, particularly for folks of color, queer folks, and non-gender conforming folks within the Good Food movement. These microaggressions, this silencing, this ignoring, shaming, sweeping things under the rug, this happens in editing rooms, this happens in kitchens, this happens in fields, and this happens within nonprofit organizations. And as Margiana said, I really want to amplify this point. As a good food movement, just because we're doing good doesn't mean that we can't do better. We can't replicate the systems of oppression within our movement if we want to dismantle these same systems. We can't. It's impossible. And in order to truly transform, we need to understand that good food change is gender justice. Good food change is trans justice. Good food change is economic justice. It's climate justice. It's also racial justice. We need to make sure that within the Good Food Movement, we're standing in solidarity with our brothers and sisters across borders, and also those who already make America great. And we also want to make sure that we're checking in with ourselves. We kindly ask all of you, particularly for our white identified folks, to talk to other white people and take these conversations not just within this room, but in all the spaces that you occupy across the Good Food system. So, like we said, we also want to apply our theory of agroequity and create a space for understanding. So we're going to lead the room in an exercise, and we just ask that you, if you are able and you are comfortable, to please stand in solidarity with these statements. We also invite the room to come from a place of empathy and understanding, and also active white listening.
Please stand if you felt uncomfortable during last night's keynote.
So we want, after each statement, we'll ask for a room affirmation, and the affirmation is, "We hear you." So can we all say that together? We hear you.
Stand if you, I suppose sit first, please. Stand if you often feel uncomfortable in these types of spaces.
Can we have a room affirmation? We hear you.
Stand if you have felt silenced or unheard.
We
hear you.
Please stand if you often don't see people that represent you in positions of power based on who you are.
We hear you.
Stand if you have felt like your work in the food system is or has been undervalued or undermined.
We hear you. Stand if you believe that we need to honor history and shift power.
We
We hear you.
And our last question, please stand if you see the need for this work in this particular space where we are here and right now, and in spaces like this one.
We hear you.
Please have a seat.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen and actually participate with us today. We're going to invite people to take this lens and discussion to their following sessions and for the rest of the conference. And also, we're inviting the leaders of the conference to invite this conversation in their respective sessions if you're willing and able. And also, we're inviting people to join us at the library after this to continue the discussion if you want to do so.
So we're trying to create a safe space, like I said, with active white listening for each other. But also just know that we're going to be centering the voices and experiences of folks of color, because that is needed in this space. Thank you for listening and partaking in this exercise with us. We really appreciate it.